Hi, this is subpixel, and I'm doing some testing regarding where Resolume chooses to do its rendering with regards to having a discrete GPU and a onboard GPU or integrated GPU. So this is an older laptop with a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 850M, and it also has the onboard graphics, the Intel HD graphics 4600. So at the moment, I'm running Resolume in my NVIDIA Control Panel. For Resolume, I have it set to use the global setting, where the global setting is the high performance NVIDIA processor. And the task manager is very clearly showing that the NVIDIA card is heavily loaded while the GPU is basically doing nothing. So at the moment, if I just clarify that the screens here have an internal screen is 1 and the external screen is 2. The external screen is connected directly, well, more or less, by HDMI. This HDMI is actually going into a matrix, but aside from that, we'll just say that it's an HDMI output. And I believe that the HDMI output is actually connected to the Intel internal processor. So the Intel graphics control panel has options for controlling both the monitor. Where's this screen gone to? It's just on the external screen. So the control panel here, we can set up the displays, and we can select the built-in display or what's showing up as a digital television Philips TV. And when we look in the NVIDIA control panel, we see that there's no displays section. So I'm very much taking this as meaning that the NVIDIA processed GPU is not actually directly connected either to the internal screen or to the HDMI port. So at the moment, if we go and have a look at our performance in Resolume, we've got 30 frames or 30 or 31 frames per second running here on whatever this old composition is. And with the output running full screen, it's a 1920 by 1080 composition. Both the internal monitor and the external monitor are 1920 by 1080 resolution, and everything's running at 60 Hertz refresh rate. So, as I mentioned, the task manager very clearly shows that we've got GPU 1, which is the GeForce GTX, is heavily loaded. And if I just change the output to be the internal screen, we'll just see if that's put some extra load onto GPU 1. Oh, sorry, GPU 0 being the internal screen. So we can see that the load is about the same, and also that the load on the GeForce GTX 850M is still fairly high as it was before. So what I can do now is I can go back into my display settings. I'll do it in the graphics control panel, for the Intel graphics control panel. In here, in the multiple displays section, we can choose which is the primary display. It's currently the built-in display. I'm going to change it to the TV or the external display. And I'm going to apply that. So my external monitor now has my taskbar on it. Let's just see what that's done to the performance. Oops, I just opened Visual Studio. That's going to mess me around. So one thing I wasn't expecting was that changing the primary screen around, it's actually switched the order of the displays. So the primary display, which is now the external display, is on the left-hand side. It's not really a big deal, but it just caught me out for a second there. I was trying to figure out exactly what's going on with that other program that was opening. Okay, I just want to close Visual Studio so that it's not impacting on my results. Okay. So, Resolume still says that it's running at around 30 frames per second. And the output is on the internal screen. I can change it to be the external screen. And the FPS is still around 30 frames per second. And the task manager still shows that the GTX GPU is in charge. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to see what happens if the control panel setting is changed while Resolume is opened. I haven't really tried that before. So I'm going to say that program settings for Arena exe, I'm going to say use integrated graphics. I'm going to apply that. I'm not sure if that's taken hold. I'll see if this is going to crash. Oh, it seems to have applied. And Resolume is still running on GPU 1, the NVIDIA GTX. I'm just going to close Resolume. Oh, where's my mouse cursor? So I'm going to just disable the main output for a second. So we can see when the main output's disabled, it's running at 50 or so frames per second. It's going to quit. And when I just double check here, seeing that our GPU is down, I'm just going to also change the primary display back to the inbuilt display. So back in the control panel, the task manager, we can see that both the internal or the integrated and discrete GPUs are basically on 0 usage. Oops, I forgot to say OK to this change. Alright, so the built-in display is the primary display. According to the NVIDIA Control Panel, the integrated graphics is chosen for Arena. Task Manager is showing no usage on the GPUs. And I'm going to launch Resolume Arena again. Regarding it being unlicensed, I haven't really been using this machine for a couple of years, and my license is on my primary laptop. So I'm not too worried about the Resolume Arena interruptions every few seconds. This is just a technical demo. So no content, 60 frames per second. Task Manager showing a 10% load on the GeForce GTX. So let's crank up our workload. How many layers have we got here? Okay, so we've got 10 layers of content running. That's enough, I think. And strangely enough, the GPU NVIDIA is still saying that it's doing all the work. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the video and I'm going to restart the system with the NVIDIA or with the internal graphics selected. I'll just do that now. I'll just change this instead of saying integrated graphics, I'm going to say use the global setting. Apply that. And in the global settings, I'm going to change that to use the integrated graphics. I'm expecting using the integrated graphics for everything is going to have a fairly drastic impact on my system performance, but I guess it remains to be seen. Just going to try one more time opening Arena 7 now that I've changed that system-wide value. Let's go back to the task manager. Yeah, so already the load is up to 11%. All right, so this is very, sorry, not clear because you're in the blur mode. GPU 1, the NVIDIA is being loaded by Resolume, and I think maybe I need to do a restart for this effect change to take hold. Let's pause you and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I've just done the restart computer dance and had a bit of a play around. For some reason, my desktop had my icons on one screen and my taskbar icons on another screen. So I just dragged them all to the other one. Anyway, I'm back with the task manager. Let's look at the performance. GPU 0 is the internal graphics, or the integrated graphics rather, and the GPU 1 is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 850M. They're both basically unloaded at the moment. The NVIDIA Control Panel has the settings for the global settings as set as integrated graphics as the preferred graphics processor. In the program settings, there is an entry for arena.exe, just waiting for that to load up. And it says to use the global setting, which is the integrated graphics. So I have my internal display. It's still number 1 as shown there, and the external is number 2. Both the internal one is set as the main display or the primary display, and I'm just going to start Resolume Arena again and see what happens to our task manager GPU. So just give it a minute to start up. I'm kind of curious about this border that I get appearing when Resolume is starting. I haven't figured out what that is yet. Some sort of invisible notice box. It's got a shadow. Alright, Resolume has started. There we go, we've got the robot voice telling us it's there. And it seems to me like it's using the GTX. So we'll just start some content. And we can see immediately actually that it's the GeForce GTX is being used as the graphics driver, the GPU, sorry. So if I send the output to the external display, that should really be hitting the internal GPU. It's saying 9% GPU usage on the integrated graphics when it's going to the external display. So if I disable the output, I'll see what that does. Output's disabled. GPU usage still 4%. Try enabling it again, have a look. GPU around 9%. So we might guess that extra 5% or so is due to copying the composition output from the GTX 850M, copying it to the other GPU so that it could be output via the HDMI, which I believe is connected to the integrated GPU. So this test has not been so helpful. I might try a test using Resolume 6 or Resolume 5, which is still installed in this machine. But that's not really going to help anyone using Resolume 7. That's all for now.